Alright, everyone, welcome back. A rustling sound. She glares ahead while struggling to remain conscious. It is midnight. What kind of human would come into this forest?
そこで何をしている?
That guy would. It was a heavy voice. She did not even have the composure to check who it was. She just thought it was all over. She had no power to use magecraft. Her purple robe might have looked like a coat, but she was covered in blood from the waist down. A woman covered in blood is hiding in this rain. It was obvious what this human would do just from seeing that. They would run away first. What would they do after that? They would either report it or pretend they hadn't seen it. Either way, it did not matter to her, as she could not move as she wanted to. That caused the last of her spirit to give out. Her final moment was lonely and cold, just like the end of her true lifetime. Or so she thought. When she regained her consciousness, she was at peace. Sitting in front of her was that human, that man she met in the woods.
起きたか? 事情は話せるか?
Those were his first words. When she watched the man with blank amazement,
迷惑だったのなら帰るがいい. 忘れろと言うなら忘れよ.
the man tells her in a tone of voice that doesn't change. That was how she met her master, Soichiro Kuzuki. Kuzuki was a strange man. Should he be called a ghost? He had no reason to live, but he had no reason to die. He was just there. And since he existed, he just did what was given to him. He had no self. That was her first impression of him, so she thought it would be easy to turn him into a puppet. She gradually realized that was a mistake. Soichiro Kuzuki had no past. He has no self because he has no past, but it does not mean that Kuzuki himself is empty. In reality, Kuzuki was a sincere man. He easily accepted her when she told him she wanted him to be the master, and when she revealed her
こ
identity.
のような話を信じるのですか?
今のは嘘なのか?
Of course, if she replies to him that it is the truth, then he would accept it. She was able to stay in this world by gaining a new master and was able to return to her role as a witch. Even now, she thinks that was a miracle. She would have disappeared before she awakened if she had not been taken to Ryodo Temple. Ryodo Temple is a demonic place for servants, but it's a perfect place for summoning once inside. The bounded field that surrounds Ryodo Temple is useful for keeping any inhuman beings inside from disappearing. She was saved right before she was going to disappear because she was brought to Ryodo Temple. If it had been a different place, she would have vanished after being taken there. As a result, she found the best ley line and an impregnable defense. She was easily able to take over Ryodo Temple, figure out the mechanism of the Holy Grail, and summon the assassin as the fifth servant. But such things are trivial matters. She was certainly lucky that night. Many miracles saved her, and now victory is within her sight. But none of it is worth her thanks. If there were nothing, she would have been just as content to give up. There was just one thing that was really important. A very small matter that is not important for anyone else. The coincidence that she was able to meet Soichiro Kuzuki is a miracle beyond belief. I can imagine she was on the verge of dying and disappearing from that world too. That guy just happened to step in. But even that's not going well. No, she sighs that nothing she does goes well. Her master won't be happy even if she does such a thing like this. He has not had any interest in the Holy Grail from the start. If he had a clear wish, she would do her best to grant it, but Soichiro Kuzuki has none. A one-sided relationship. They do not get along well. Even the fact that their relationship is like that shows things aren't going well.
ミイラ取りがミイラになったか。希代の魔女というのも案外脆いものだな。
She turns to the intruder. It is not her master standing there. It is the knight in red cloak, Archer, whose identity is still unknown.
アーチャー、あなたには外の見張りを任せたはずですが。
ああ、それがな、ざっと見たところ周囲に敵という敵がいない。退屈を持て余してね、中の様子を見に来たのだ。
それはそうでしょうね。私たちの敵はバーサーカーだけよ。それもセイバーさえ陥落すればこちらから撃って出るだけ。あなたもそれが分かっていたからこそこちらに着いたのではなくて。
さてどうかな。私はあのマスターと契約を切りたかっただけとは思わないか。あのマスター以外なら契約者は誰でもよかったと。
Archer's frivolous talk has some truth in it. But, what does that mean? Does that mean Archer had no intention of betraying but betrayed his master only because he wanted to break his contract with Rin Tosaka?
そう。小娘のおもりはごめんということ。確かに私たちサーバントは総じてマスターに不満を持つわ。あなたが愛想を尽かすのも当然でしょうね。
いや、召喚者として彼女は完璧だった。ただ少しばかり狂いが生じただけだ。それとキャスター、一つ忠告しよう。あらゆるサーバントが君と同じだとは思わないことだ。少なくともセイバーとバーサーカーは主に不満を抱いてはいなかった。正しい英雄というものはね、正しい人間にしか刺激できないものなんだ。
何を今さら。ねじ曲がったマスターだからこそねじ曲がった英霊を呼ぶ。そのようなことあなたに言われるまでもないわ。
Summoners with dark shadows in their minds cannot summon heroic spirits who are on the side of light. In that regard, she and Ryder are not heroic spirits. A twisted summoner calls for twisted heroic spirits. Just as Ryder was once a beautiful being, so too was Castor once a pure being. It is ironic that the heroic spirit that Castor summoned was a fictional hero.
しかし考えてみればおかしな話だな。君やライダーは英霊に敵対するものだろう。にもかかわらずサーバントとして選ばれている。まあ聖杯には善悪の区別はない。力のある人間霊なら誰であろうと組み上げるということか。
いいえ、本来そんな英霊としての側面もあるものなんて混ざり物は選ばれない。この戦いがおかしくなったのは3度目からよ。それまでは私やライダーのような英霊は呼ばれなかった。
That does not concern her now. She is also not interested in the true nature of the Holy Grail. Her mission as the servant that goes by Castor is only to win this war. She's not interested in what comes after. No, to be honest, this is not the end she wishes for.
無駄話はここまでよ、アーチャー。持ち場に戻りなさい。あなたが何を考えているかはどうでもいいわ。あなたはすでに私のサーバント。その命は私の手の中にある。それを肝に銘じて口を聞きなさい。
了解した。では従順なサーバントらしく主の期待に応えるとしよう。
The knight in red goes up the stairs with an unchanging tone of voice. She watches him in silence and takes a deep sigh. One more day until Saber surrenders. She has not been able to find the Holy Grail as of yet, but she will be one step closer to the end once Saber joins her ranks. What will happen once the war ends? Castor should make every wish come true with that power. Continuing to live as a witch, just as she swore to when she was alive, wouldn't be so bad. But there will be no reason once the war ends. Even if she still has the will, her owner will have no reason to be her master anymore.
あと少しで聖杯はこの手に収まる。
Castor extends her pale hand into empty space. Her long and hard work is about to be rewarded, but her expression is like that of a criminal who is about to be executed. I saw many corpses. I died at that time and was reborn. I don't have repentances about the path I took. My eyes lost their hatred. My hands lost their anger. My feet lost their hope. And I lost myself there. I lost everything. It's not because I gave up that I accepted that nothing would be saved. I just found out that it's natural. It's just that dying people will die and survivors will survive. I laid down on the mountain of rubble and gazed at the spreading ruins. I understood everything then. I thought I understood everything. But I still thought about it. If I can save everything here, how wonderful that would be. That is what I admired. I just thought that it would be nice if no one had to suffer. I tried to become a hero of justice for that sake. It was easy to understand, and it seemed like an ideal way to live. That's why I aimed for it. I can see where I had to be, and there are many ways to get there. I just kept on running, wanting to get as close to it as possible, even though I didn't know what was right or wrong. Many paths that I took were crooked, and my destination was only getting farther away. I'm taking the long way. I have been repeating this for 10 years since I got saved by Kiritsugu, but I won't regret it. I'm not skilled like Tosaka. I'll take the wrong path and lose many things at times, but I can't disregard them as meaningless. I have to show meaning for why I survived for the sake of things I have trampled over and things that won't come back. I won't lose for that sake. It can't be helped if I lose against others, but I can win against myself. I can always resist against my mind that says to give up. That's all I swore upon. There's only one thing that I believed in and wanted to believe in. Yes. Even if I'm walking down the wrong path, I will not regret believing in it. I'm awakened by the light pouring in from outside. It's before 6 a.m. The sky outside the window is cloudy, as if sprinkled with ashes. I get ready and leave my room. My body's in good condition and there's not much pain in my wound anymore. I shouldn't be a burden to Tosaka like this even if we were to engage in battle.
来たわね。準備はいい？シロ。
I'm ready, but... Tosaka has transformed.
何よ、地雷踏んで動けなくなった新兵みたいな顔して。まだ準備できてないの？
いや、そうじゃなくて、父さがなんか変じゃないか。
は？ああ、これ？細かい作業の時にかけるだけだから気にしないで。
Well, I guess that's fine if she says so. I wonder what kind of magecraft this is that makes it look so wrong yet so right.
いい？私たちが向かうのは郊外の森。町からはるかに離れた市街。まだ人の手が入っていない広大な樹海よ。長年人間の介入を拒んできただけあって森は深くて広いわ。年に何人か何の準備もなしに踏み込んで遭難したって話知ってるでしょ？
I nod silently. Our destination is the Einsborn Villa that is said to be somewhere in that forest. That girl. Our fate is decided the moment our negotiation with Iliasviel breaks down and we end up fighting. We can't call for help and it will be difficult to run away. We can't escape from the forest alive if we don't defeat that giant berserker.
じゃあ、そろそろ行きましょう。徹夜して場所に当たりはつけといたから。うまくすれば半日ぐらいで見つけられるはずよ。とりあえず国道までは車を使うからタクシー代用意しといて。
She picks up a Boston bag full of things and starts walking. I go after her with my bamboo sword bag in one hand. But Tosaka, money for the taxi is fine, but does that mean we'll be walking on the way back home? We ride the taxi for an hour from the town. We ride on the endless highway, passing several mountains, and reach the entrance of the forest. Of course, there are no paved roads in the forest. We walk about 1 kilometer from the highway and finally reach the entrance to the forest. I knew it wasn't going to be easy, but I can't help but get nervous once I actually face it. The forest is dark even though it's daytime. The tall branches that cover the sky shut out the sunlight, and it's hard to see a mere more than 10 meters ahead, let alone the end of the forest.
ちょっとシロ、悪いけど先に進んでみてくれない？
いいけど、あの子の居場所を知ってるのは遠坂なんだろ？俺が先に行っても仕方がないと思うわ。
I complain as I enter the forest. Then,
なんだ、ビリッときたぞ。
I pull back my foot reflexively. I only felt numb for an instant. The numbness itself is subtle, and it hurts way more to stub your toe in a dresser. Well, it's basically like a static shock.
やっぱり識別だけだろうけど、森全体に管理が行き届いてるみたいね。
She used me as bait for the trap.
ちょっと待て。それまずいんじゃないのか。要するに防犯ベルに引っかかったってことだろ。なら
別に問題ないんじゃない？私たちは奇襲に来たわけじゃないもの。話し合いに来たんだから、むしろ今からアピールしておいた方が得でしょ？
あ、一応気をつけろよ。ちょっとビリッとくるから。
分かってる分かってる。シローの見てたからどんなものか分かってるって。
Tosaka waves her hand and steps into the forest. At that moment, Tosaka lets out a funny scream and jumps back. I hear crackling electricity. I want to believe that's my imagination that the leaves piled up under Tosaka's feet are scorched.
個人差がある警報みたいだな。俺には挨拶程度だったけど。
I calmly explain the situation. But it doesn't seem like Tosaka's listening to me.
やってくれるじゃないあのガキ。今笑ったの確かに聞こえたんだから。
Tosaka yells at the empty space where there isn't anyone. I don't know where that line went, as her threatening attitude seems like she might go fight instead of talk. Well, anyways, it seems like talking bad about Tosaka is a fatal no matter how far away you are from her, so I should be careful. Yeah, Ilya doesn't like her. We walk through the forest. We're the only living human beings among these infinite trees. I don't hear the breathing of any beasts, and the plants in winter are as lifeless as corpses. The endless sea of trees that seem to go on forever makes me constantly feel apprehension. It's already been 3 hours since we entered the forest. It's way past noon, and just as I have become unable to tell whether there have been any changes in the landscape.
見つけた。って聞いてはいたけど呆れたわ。本気でこんなところにあんなものを建てるなんて。
I followed Tosaka's line of sight. There's only darkness ahead. Between the trees. There's some incredibly out-of-place thing that can be seen through cracks that are so small they could easily be missed by anybody who doesn't pay close attention.
なんだあれ。壁か？
壁よ。まったくどうかしてるわ。あれ、自分たちの国から丸ごと持ってきたものよ。
Tosaka curses and heads to the strange object we see in the distance. I follow after her, still bewildered, unable to grasp what it is. We get out of the forest. The forest that seemed to be endless abruptly ends. No, it seems like the traces of the forest vanish as if they caved out just this part of the big spoon. The gray sky curving above us is so high that I can't see everything. A huge dome-like space. This is more like an underground kingdom instead of an open space. That was Ilyasville's dwelling. The old castle built in the middle of the forest. It's a solitary castle in the forest that has no visitors. It's too big for that girl to live in, and it's too lonely to live in alone. Anyway, it does no good to falter here. According to Tosaka, Ilyasville knows that we came here. Then we should go confidently from the front entrance to show that we don't have any enmity.
よし、行くぞ、遠坂。って、遠坂？
Tosaka looks up at the castle with an alarming expression. Her her pride. Her side profile looks as tense as it does when she's confronting an enemy.
登坂、気になるもんでもあったのか？
私たち以外に誰かいる。
Uh-oh.
そりゃいるだろう。イリアってことバーサーカーの住処なんだから。
そうじゃなくて、それ以外の誰かってことよ。シロ、こっちから入るわよ。
ちょっとお前。
Without a chance to stop her, Tosaka starts running to the big tree by the wall. No, that's not all. Tosaka grabs onto a branch and skillfully climbs up. I look up in astonishment. Tosaka looks around the castle and she jumps and kicks at the castle's second floor. A shattering sound. A window breaks and the red figure disappears into the castle.
ほら早く。本気でおかしいわよ、この城。
もう話し合いをするんじゃなかったのかよ。
But what's done is done. I also climb the tree and jump into the second floor of the castle like Tosaka. I go out to the hallway from the room we invaded. Before I can even marvel at how magnificent this place is, the abnormality Tosaka mentioned earlier grabs my attention. The sound echoing is definitely the sound of battle. The sound of swords clashing. But is a storm-like, sword-like fight like this even possible? Even the most intense sword fight that I've witnessed so far, the one between Saber and Berserker, didn't make these kinds of sounds. Then I suddenly realize, this doesn't sound like your average sword fight. This is one against many. There's literally a war going on somewhere in this castle. There's no doubt that one of them is Berserker. This castle is Iliasvil's castle. If a battle were to occur, it would only be when Berserker is attacking an intruder. I start running. The sounds are echoing from below. Judging from where the sounds are coming from relative to our entry point, the battle is in the center of the castle, in the reception hall. I run through the unfamiliar castle. This isn't the time to be exchanging opinions. I don't know what's happening, but it feels like it will lead to permanent consequences. I run down the stairs. The fierce sword fight is happening close by.
閉めた。ここ、広間の吹き抜けに繋がってる。
Tosaka checks the end of the passage. The hallway splits at a T-junction and both seems to lead to the terrace at either side of the hall.
ここで別れましょう。私がこっちから様子を見るから、シロはそっちからお願い。
It's better to split up than stay together in one place. With the way we are now, we don't have anywhere to escape if we are found. We don't stand a chance either way. So we'll split up. If we split up, even if one was found, there's hope that the other can manage to escape somehow. Tosaka goes down the hallway facing east. I nod and go down the other hallway. I go to the other one on the other side facing west.
シロ、
She suddenly stops me.
分かってるわね。何が起きようと絶対に手は出さないで。今の私たちに戦う手段はない。いい？やばいと思ったらすぐに逃げるのよ。どちらかが捕まっても構わず走って。誰かを助けるなんて、まず自分を助けてから考えることなんだから。
Her voice is suppressing her emotions. That sounded more like a plea than a warning. I go around and come out onto the terrace of the lobby. I see Tosaka emerge from the opposite side of the terrace far away. She immediately takes cover and peeks out to see what's going on while hiding. The instant we look down at the hall, we both suppress our voices.
シンジ、なんだってあいつこんなところに。
Shinji stands atop the rubble in the corner of the lobby, observing the spectacle with joy. No, that's not it. That's not the surprising thing. Right now, the truth that I have to accept right now is the battle that Shinji is observing. The Black Giant lets out a roar. The swinging axe sword still stirs up a cloud of dust and crushes the rubble into powder. Berserker's no different than before. No, his blood-curdling roar doesn't compare to what it sounded like before. Behind the giant is the pale white girl. Berserker's master, Iliasvil. That girl that was always smiling innocently and unfit for a kill fest. That girl. is now shivering and staring at her own servant about to cry out. Her pale face is desperately trying to deny the despair in front of her. Someone help me. That's what the trembling lips of the Snow White girl seem to say. A whirlwind blows violently. Berserker's axe swords repelled each time. In the center of the hall, by the noble phantasms of one servant reigning the throne of rubble. Ah! Him! The countless numbers of swords dance. Each one of the weapons appearing behind the man is undeniably a fatal weapon. They pierce through, like hot water. The bottomless noble phantasm destroys Berserker's body as if repelling his axe sword wasn't already enough. His limbs fly off. The swords cut through his body, penetrate his head, and pierce his heart. But he still does not die. The giant revives after each instantaneous death that he suffers, and resolutely advances towards his enemy. Alright, how many times did he die already? Oh, 8. Berserker moves forward while being killed mercilessly that many times. That enemy welcomes him with a smile. The repeated tragedy. Berserker is killed many times, unable to get close to his enemy.
Buck.
It's not because Berserker is being defeated without being able to do anything. That man, that servant is beyond belief. All the noble phantasms that are repeated infinitely are real. I can tell since I projected Archer's swords. Those are the original versions of every noble phantasm, the ones from before they became legends. Who could he be? Being a heroic spirit who's being able to retain so many weapons. No, first of all, there should be 7 servants. Then he's the 8th one. Is he the one who shouldn't exist? I can't breathe. Berserker is nothing less than astounding. A body made out of steel and that superhuman strength. On top of that, he can regenerate on the spot even if he dies. He's not an opponent that can be matched. The 8th servant doesn't retreat from such a monstrous opponent and overwhelms Berserker with the repeated magic swords and holy swords. When I look up, Tusaka's face on the other side was also pale. It's only natural. The space below us is a land of death. We'll die instantly if we enter it. No more than that. He's a demon. A different atrocity than Berserker. This man lacks order and wishes for battles only for objective killing. But, even with such an unusual enemy in front of him, the Black Giant is still the strongest. His steps don't cease, even if his whole body is pierced or cut up. He receives the rain of noble phantasms, regenerates each time, and surely closes in on his enemy. It is an advance devoid of tactics. He's not thinking of any ways of countering his enemy's attacks. He moves forward as long as he's alive. It is a savage battle about just killing the enemy. He will not reach the enemy. Berserker's brute courage will prove futile, and his life will end just as a mere target. That enemy understands that. That's why he stopped on purpose and is just provoking the giant that foolishly moves forward. There's no chance of victory for the Black Giant with this method. It's something that the man confronting him and I, looking as an outsider, can tell. And most likely, even Berserker himself, who is being used for target practice, must have realized the same thing a while back. Yet the giant keeps stupidly moving forward. He knows no retreat and doesn't try to avoid the attacks. That man welcomes the figure with a smile.
所詮はバーサーカー戦うだけのものであったか同じ半身として期待していたがよもやそこまでアホとはな
The noble phantasms appear. Roaring with laughter, the man commands the noble phantasms behind him.
ではそろそろ引導を渡してやろうこれ以上近づかれては暑苦しい
At his signal, the numerous noble phantasms attack the giant. The giant repels a majority of them, and at the same time, a majority of them take his life.